Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Strictly Business Podcast. Jon Stanko here, being joined by Mike Ritz. Mike, I missed you on our Week 2 NFL Predictions podcast. You were unable to join me in the predictions, but you were being a good boyfriend, and you were spending the weekend with the birthday girl, Monique.
Well, it's actually touching to know that you actually missed me on the podcast. But
I did.
But that means a lot. But yeah, you know, certain things came up, and I had other obligations. But now I'm back. I'm fresh. I'm back and fresh. You know, I haven't done this in a week, so now I feel like I had my bye week.
Yeah, you had your bye week, and on that bye week, you replenish yourself with some Ritz's Rambles, because everyone can look forward to today 2 editions of the Ritz's Ramble, 2 of them. So, and I promise you that they're close and personal and big ones for Mike Ritz, so everyone can look forward to that. But before
Excellent plug.
I try. But before we dive into that, we're going to dive into Week 2 of the NFL, recap that a little bit. And I mean, before we go into any of the games, Mike, me and you both agreed we got to touch on the storylines that happened this past week, because the NFL was already in a storm of controversy, and things just went from bad to worse, much, much worse.
Yeah, it seems like every day there's a new player that's coming out and, you know, doing bad things. It just makes the NFL look kind of worse than it is right now. You know, the Arizona Cardinals announced that their backup running back, Jonathan Dwyer, he gets arrested for domestic violence. You got the Greg Hardy story with the Panthers. Obviously, it's all the aftermath of the Ray Rice situation, and it seems like every single day somebody else is just either getting found out or doing these things recently. It's really not a good look for the NFL, because I think the NFL, once the Ray Rice story came out, they thought that was going to be the end of it, but they're getting even more backlash with all these new players coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, listen, the NFL botched the Ray Rice investigation. That is 100% true. Now, this comes out, and the NFL, they don't really know how to address it. Luckily, the big story that came out was Adrian Peterson was accused of and indicted and arrested on child abuse charges. Graphic images came out of his 4-year-old son, with scratches across all of his legs. Blood was obviously drawn, and he was whipped with a switch as a form of discipline by Adrian Peterson. And then Adrian Peterson was, turned himself in and paid his bail, and now he's obviously not in prison. But that was the big storyline. And then you mentioned Jonathan Dwyer of the Cardinals. He's arrested for both child abuse and domestic violence, both. So just combine Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson into one, you get that mess. And my question is, where is Roger Goodell? Because I have not heard from Roger Goodell in a statement, and I think the past week since this whole Adrian Peterson story unfolded.
Yeah, I think that's the big question. That's what everybody was saying when this whole Ray Rice situation was happening, is where is his press conference? Where is any statement from Roger Goodell? I mean, the NFL can have any, statements they want, but I think everybody wants Roger Goodell to come out and say things, because hiding certainly isn't helping up his situation right now, because his job is on the line. Like, I think that he's fighting for his job right now, because look at the mess that the past week and a half, 2 weeks has been for him. And any knock of the NFL is a knock on him. So obviously this whole story really isn't out with the Ray Rice situation, which almost seems as a backstory now with all the other stories coming about, especially the Adrian Peterson story. But they still haven't got the full truth on what was going on with Ray Rice. Did they see the video first? Did they not see the video? So, this certainly isn't a good look for Roger Goodell, and he really needs to kind of come out, and even if he comes out and has a press conference, even if he doesn't take any questions, I mean, I think that he needs to come out, show face, most importantly, say what he has to say, and I think he should take some questions, because there's a lot of questions to be answered.
Yeah, there is I don't know if you could count how many questions reporters are going to have for Roger Goodell when he finally steps out and addresses the media. Because, I mean, listen, the Adrian Peterson thing's terrible. He got indicted on one charge, and now another charge is brought up. He's been accused of a secondary abuse where there have been scars left on a kid who he had with a separate girl, need I mention. He had scars on his head, and he got a whooping in the car. So, I mean, Adrian Peterson is being charged or being accused of two charges of child abuse. So it's absolutely ridiculous. And I do give credit to the Minnesota Vikings. They deactivated him for the game against the New England Patriots. Then they unfortunately activated him the next day, which I think was an improper move. But then overnight was like, you know what? This is a bad idea. We're going to deactivate him again and make the right decision. So they kind of flip-flopped. But eventually I think you got to give credit to the Vikings for getting it right, putting him on the exempt list, and saying, hey, listen, you're not going to play until this entire criminal process is played out.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they made the right decision. Obviously, the flip-flop, they didn't look necessarily good, but overall they made the right decision. My thing is, look, I get he's your best player, but you guys, the Vikings stink anyway every single year. So it's not like, yes, he's your best player, he's your franchise. You guys win 5 games a year anyway with him, so you can win 5 games without him. That's my point. So it really shouldn't be, it shouldn't even hesitate with this guy. He obviously came clean to doing it, so it's not even like, oh, we don't know if he did it. The guy clearly did it, and sit him out, and then we'll see what the NFL does and Roger Goodell does if he ever comes out of hiding.
I mean, there's a bunch of tweets I read, like, did people take Roger Goodell hostage and stuff like that? Our lawyers are taking him hostage to make sure he doesn't talk at all. But interesting is Dan Ravel tweeted out he took a poll, or he found a poll that was conducted by Marist College and another I guess you could say reliable poll source, and I can't find his tweet verbatim, but it's something like 85 or 88% of people have not been deterred away from the NFL since these allegations have come out against Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson, Jonathan Dwyer, and such. And also, roughly only 35%, according to this poll, saw fit that Roger Goodell should lose his job and be forced out of office. Only 35% of people said that with these allegations he should be forced out. And I thought that was incredibly low.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It really is, because you don't know for a fact whether or not, whatever shady business that was going on in the Ray Rice situation. Unfortunately, we might not ever know the truth of what really happened, at least for Roger Goodell's role in all this. And I think, although if you take out Roger Goodell and put somebody else in there, I still believe the NFL is such a money-driven, just a machine right now that it's not like it's going to lose money if you get Roger Goodell out of the NFL. But it doesn't change the fact, like, get rid of Roger Goodell isn't going to change the fact of the type of players that are in the NFL right now. You know what I mean? So even if you get rid of Roger Goodell, that doesn't necessarily mean all this is going to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And obviously, we've talked about this. The owners clearly like him because he put a lot of money in these guys' pockets. And even if you can get a new guy to come in and do that, maybe the owners, they don't necessarily like change much. They have a relationship with Roger Goodell. They appreciate and at least respect what this guy has been doing. And it's going to be hard. And, oh my Lord. Stanko, are you watching this game right now?
Oh, my God, they scored again. Jesus Christ.
That's a punt return.
Oh, my God. In case people don't, we're watching the Atlanta Falcons absolutely destroy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on possibly the most uninteresting NFL game I've ever watched. It's awful.
Man, that's another punt return. It's about to be 35-0.
Is that Devin Hester? That's an NFL record for Devin Hester. It's 20th career NFL return for a touchdown.
So breaking news here. Flag.
Oh, man.
Breaking news here on the Strictly Business podcast, but it's an unsportsmanlike conduct, so it's going to stand. He broke the record.
He broke the record. Congratulations, Devin Hester. And for the record, me and you are both going to start out 1-0 this week on picks because we both had the Falcons over the Bucs.
Which I'll definitely take because it was a rough week last week.
Man, I don't even want to tell you my record last week. I don't even want to tell you. I don't. I'm not even going to say it. It was that bad. It was that bad.
Yeah, but going back to this NFL situation, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily surprised because I don't think the NFL likes change. I don't think the owners like change. And we've talked about this. It is the owners that are primarily going to have a role in getting rid of Roger Goodell if that happens. So I'm not surprised with 35%. And if more of these stories come out, I wouldn't be surprised if that 35% rose.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it'd be more like 45-50 to be honest with you in terms of the poll results. I disagree with you. I think Roger Goodell has a little bit to do with the fact that players like this are getting into the NFL because I don't know if you saw, but Brandon Marshall's family came forward with a lawyer, and they made an allegation that Roger Goodell blatantly ignored their, I guess you could say, pleas or claims that Brandon Marshall was performing domestic abuse against them back when Brandon Marshall was charged or was brought forward with these charges. And they said, the lawyer said Roger Goodell did not do enough, and he blatantly ignored the issue and ignored evidence. And if that becomes true, or any fact of that becomes true, and a cover-up is found in any way, shape, or form, like say, for instance, it's proven that Roger Goodell saw the Ray Rice video and still only gave Ray Rice a 2-game suspension, then I think that number skyrockets. And I personally think that Roger Goodell has something to do with the fact that these players are getting into the league somehow because they are the best athletes, but they're obviously not the best people. And right now, when you look at scouting and how teams are scouting, they know that they can get away with not the best people in the NFL because they have some sort of safety net that, hey, if this guy messes up, he might not get caught because of something that maybe the NFL is doing. That's my conspiracy theory. I'm theorizing for you right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would have to take proof that he did see the video for him to even remotely think about losing his job. If all the information that we have right now stays the same, this guy's not going to go anywhere. I really don't think so. But yeah, if more stuff comes out and more people come out and really bash Roger Goodell and have some sort of proof that he did see the video, or if he comes out and he said, even if he comes out and says he handled it wrong, then I would think. But the players, unfortunately, it's not. We talk about this. It's not the players' decision. So we'll see how it comes out. But it's just been a mess of 2 weeks for the NFL.
Oh yeah, I mean it's sad that most of the talk is not about the games. It's about the controversies off the field. You never would have thought that week 2 of the NFL, but such is the case. But we got to talk about week 2 in the NFL. We got to move away from the depressing stories off the field and move on to some of the interesting stories taking place on the field. And for me, Mike, the biggest story thus far is a team that I have going to the Super Bowl from the NFC in my preseason predictions. The New Orleans Saints are 0-2 on the year. How does that happen?
Man, it was they got clipped by the Browns in Cleveland, and they just what's surprising to me is their defense, to be honest. This was a defense that was supposed to come out. They were all set. This was going to be the reason why people were picking them to make it to the Super Bowl, is because they have an increased defense. They've always had a good offense. They've always had Drew Brees. Well, now they have a good defense to back it up, at least what people thought going into the season. But it's non-existent so far. They got 37 on them against Atlanta, and now the Browns put up 26 on you. It's not a good look right now for the Saints, and I still believe they're a very good football team, but I'm very, very surprised they start off the year 0-2.
Yeah, the Saints dropped their 5th straight, 5 in a row, regular season road game. They've lost 5 straight regular season road games, and no matter how much Drew Brees says, we don't play any different on the road than we do at home like he did last year, that's a complete and utter lie, because they are such a different team in New Orleans than they are on the road. And also want to congratulate the Browns because for the first time in 10 years, they are 1-0 at home. For the first time in 10 years.
That is just so sad. And Mike Penton's first career victory as a head coach.
Yeah, he got a Gatorade bath. And he said after the game he was looking forward to smoking a celebratory cigar. So he was very, very happy with the win. And also bad news out of this game for the Saints is that Mark Ingram got hurt, and he's going to be out for an extended period of time. And he was playing very, very well for the Saints as well.
Yeah, he was playing well. And let's see who kind of backs him up. You have Pierre Thomas, you have Kai Robinson. So let's see, because now you really don't have a true back. I mean, Pierre Thomas, yes, but you know, you have two small guys back there. Mark Ingram was small, but he was stocky. I mean, Pierre Thomas and Kai Robinson are both small, skinny guys, so you really don't have a true back. So let's see what Drew Brees does. I mean, obviously they're primarily a throwing team to begin with, but it almost makes you worry about how much they're going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah, I agree with you. Drew Brees is a fantastic quarterback, but he's not played that well thus far this season. Only 237 yards against the Browns defense. Granted, a good defense, but they're not absolutely stellar. And also, I can tell you how happy I am for Brian Hoyer. Getting a game-winning drive at home, getting that win underneath his belt. Bye-bye any hope of Johnny Manziel, who made his debut and went 0 for 1 with an incompletion, and it was a dropped pass, so it wasn't even his fault, but still. I'm so happy for Brian Hoyer. And for the Browns, this is an absolutely huge win. And for New Orleans, you lost two games that you were in the position to win. You were in the position to win in Atlanta and in New Orleans, and in Cleveland, and you couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, and it also makes Mike Penton look like a genius. Well, not a genius, but it just makes him look like a strong-willed team by not caving and starting Johnny Manziel or even thinking about playing Manziel. He's done the best he can to kind of keep the media out of the spotlight of Johnny Manziel, and what better way to do it than just beat a good football team and really have the confidence in Brian Hoyer to do what he did on Sunday.
Yeah, and do you know, is Marquise Colston hurt? Do you know this?
Yes, I think Colston's hurt, yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the box score right now for New Orleans in receiving. Jimmy Graham targeted 13 times. The next guy closest was Robert Meacham, targeted 5 times. Jimmy Graham, 118 yards receiving. Next closest, Robert Meacham, 37 yards on 3 receptions. Jimmy Graham had 10 receptions. So, you're going to ask Drew Brees to pass. He's only going to be passing to one guy, Jimmy Graham, because, frankly, outside of that, he doesn't have that much to go to because Cooks did not have that good of a game, the rookie Brandon Cooks for New Orleans against Cleveland either.
Wow, no, Colston is healthy, Stanko. He just had 0 catches and 0 targets in week 2. He had that costly fumble against the Falcons in week 1, but he went 0 catches and 0 targets in week 2, and this article says it's the first time since 2008 that's happened to Colston.
Well, there you go. You got to wonder, was Hayden matched up on him the entire time, Joe Hayden? You got to figure.
Yeah, to be fair, he had 5 catches for 110 yards in week 1. So, let's see. I'm really not too phased. Any wide receiver, I'm not really phased because Brees is going to get you the ball if he can get you the ball.
All right, that's a very fair point. All right, so we talked about the Saints. They're starting off 0-2. Was there any other games week 2 that stuck out to you, Mike?
Personally, I was surprised the Cowboys handled the Titans as handily as they did because they just looked so bad in week 1 against the Niners that they came out and they played fantastic against the Titans team, who I obviously have a lot of confidence in. And the Cowboys really took it to them. And also the other thing, I'm sticking with the NFC East. RG3 hurt again, and at least for me, I think that's the best thing that can happen to the Redskins right now.
Yep.
Is RG3 getting hurt.
Whoop, whoop. Jump on that Kirk Cousins bandwagon because I'm the captain. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. I am so happy RG3's hurt. So happy. Not because he's hurt not because he's hurt and nothing like that, but it's because it's going to give Kirk Cousins the opportunity to show that he is a better quarterback for that system in Washington, and he gives them a better chance to win.
Yeah, I think if anything, because people are saying how the Redskins are out of it now, I think this gives them more of a chance in the division with RG3 sitting than it does with Kirk Cousins. I really believe in Kirk Cousins, and I'm kind of mad as a Giants fan. We'll get to them in a second. I'm kind of mad as a Giants fan that RG3 got hurt because now Kirk Cousins is a pretty good pocket passer, and the Redskins just got a little more dangerous.
Yep, I completely agree with you. And I want to get back to your Cowboys for a second. We talk about the start of the year that DeMarco Murray is having 285 yards, averaging 5.6 yards a carry so far this season. Absolutely phenomenal. And if he keeps running the ball like that, that's a recipe for Cowboys success. Because you don't want Tony Romo throwing the ball 40 times a game.
No, you don't. And, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. But I really believe that they have one of the top 5. Is it safe to say they have one of the top 5 offenses in the league? I really think it is. Because I don't think Romo is. Romo is a pretty good quarterback who just really just can't. He always throws that one pick that everyone talks about. DeMarco Murray's a steady back. Des Bryant. They have a lot of weapons that they use here with the Cowboys. And it's just if their defense can hold, they're a pretty good football team, and it held against Titans. It really did, and that's why we disagree in where the Cowboys are going to finish in the East. But we have to talk about how bad the Giants were again against the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday.
Yes, I am very disappointed in your Giants because when I found out Carson Palmer wasn't playing, I was like, you know what, the Giants have a shot. They have a year to recuperate. They're without Carson Palmer. I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball as effectively, obviously. But, yeah, your Giants somehow proved me wrong once again.
And, honestly, at times, I would say from about the second quarter to the start of the fourth, the offense looked pretty good. It really did. And they just turned the ball over, whether it was dumb picks or just or fumbles. And just don't even get me started with Victor Cruz. He just continues to drop. He was bad. He was pretty bad in week 1. He was a big reason the Giants lost the game in week 2. There was a big play on 3rd and 6. Just a nice little play action, a little dump pass to a wide open Victor Cruz, probably about 8 yards deep. Definitely would have got a first down and then some. He drops the ball. 4th and 6, we go to punt, and then Ted Ginn Jr. runs it back and then gives them the lead. It's just stuff like that. I mean, Coughlin prides in this team doing all the little things right, and we're just doing a lot of these little things wrong. A lot of penalties, a lot of dumb turnovers, a lot of drop passes. And, I mean, Cardinals are a pretty good football team, but I really think the Giants were in pretty good position to win this football game, and they ended up losing by double digits.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the Cardinals aren't that good of a football team without Carson Palmer at quarterback. Drew Stanton is not Carson Palmer. I mean, I don't understand. Turnovers are just killing Eli Manning. 2 more interceptions. I mean, I am baffled. I really thought the Giants could win this game. I really, really did. And, man, I don't know what to say. Drew Stanton beat them. Drew Stanton was able to manage the game well. He only averaged 6 yards of completion. But, I mean, you look at the stats, nothing really stands out for Arizona. They didn't do anything particularly well, except for the fact that they didn't turn the ball over, and the Giants had 3 turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was, too.
4 turnovers, excuse me.
I don't think they did anything. I don't think they did anything specifically well on offense because, obviously, they got the 7 of the points from a nice punt return. But, I mean, I think on defense, I think they're a pretty good defensive team, but like you said, with their starting quarterback, Andre Ellington, not 100%. This was a game at home that the Giants really should have had.
Yep, and the other big game I guess we could say that we could talk about, but now it's kind of a moot point because Atlanta's dominating so bad now, is Atlanta fell at home to the Bengals. The Bengals, who were undefeated at home last year, continue that stretch. They beat the Falcons in Week 2 24-10. But I think the Falcons are bouncing back okay, up 35-0 with about 4 minutes left in the first half against Tampa Bay. So I think that any overreaction we were going to have about the Falcons is now unwarranted.
I do believe that I had the Bengals in that game, Stanko. and I'm pretty sure your Jaguars lost too. I think I'm up 2 on you on the pick.
I'm pretty sure that you are, and I will concede that week 2 last week, since I've been keeping track of my weekly picks, was my worst ever. I think since my freshman year of college, when I started doing pigskin pick 'em every week, it was my worst week ever picking games, ever.
Yeah, it was certainly a rough week, but also, Stanko, we've glossed over one game that we need to get to is the Jets and the Packers.
Oh, yeah.
It was certainly an entertaining game, to say the least. The Jets came out, and they were on fire in the beginning, defensively and surprisingly offensively. They looked like they were handling the Packers in the first half. They had a 21-3 lead. All the momentum was going with the the Jets. In Lambeau Field, they were playing on the road. Geno Smith looked pretty good. They ran the ball well. They were bothering Rodgers. They were kind of doing everything right, and then all of a sudden, the wheels started to kind of fall apart. They finished at halftime. It was 21-16, and then a little controversy happened towards the end of the game, Stanko.
Yeah, you look at it, basically what happened was the Jets were on offense. It was 4th down, and they needed a touchdown to win the game. And Geno Smith hikes the ball and throws a touchdown pass into the end zone. Jets fans are going crazy celebrating, yet the Jets bench called a timeout. However, it was not Rex Ryan who called the timeout. Instead, it was Marty Morningwig who called the timeout. And guess what, Mike? An assistant coach is not allowed to call a timeout. So now the question is, I pose to you this. Whose fault is it for calling that timeout? Is it Marty Morningwig for asking for it, for yelling it? Is it the referee for hearing it and then blowing the whistle? What do you make of the situation?
I think that in the end, I think a head coach needs to have some sort of, obviously he needs to have control of his sideline. So I think in the end, you got to look at Rex, because although he's a player's coach, it just looks so unorganized on the sidelines and confusion on the sidelines. This isn't the first time that this type of thing happens. So I think that it's clear Rex, I don't think he coaches both sides of the ball, and which is fine, because I don't think he ever claimed that he did. But I think the fact that kind of puts a lot of confidence in other coaches may kind of give the assistant coaches, I don't know how you say it, believe they have more power than they do. So I think that towards the end of the game, when things are going crazy, I think the head coach needs to kind of have control of his sideline. So even though he wasn't willing to call the timeout, the ref should have looked to see if it was Rex calling the timeout. I think in the end, the assistant coach needs to know what to do in that situation, and it falls on Rex's shoulders. I believe it really does.
I tend to agree with you. I think it was our friend Tommy Simon who pointed out in an article that Rex Ryan's headset was programmed onto the defensive side. He was listening to the defensive coordinator at that moment. So if that's true, he's not even focusing on the play at hand, which is going to determine the rest of the game. Listen, I think that the refs made a mistake, obviously, but I don't think you could blame the refs, because I guarantee that's happened on more than one occasion, but just never in that magnitude at that moment on a 4th down to decide the game, or a touchdown where it's the end result of the play that got canceled out.
Yeah, but then if you look at it on the other side, Geno Smith throws that pass, and it's an incomplete pass, and they go and they call a timeout. We wouldn't even be talking about it.
Exactly.
It's like, it's so, hindsight's 20/20, obviously, but if Geno Smith throws that ball up, it gets intercepted, or it's an incomplete pass, and the ref blows the whistle, then people would have so many different opinions on this. So it's kind of a catch-22 with kind of everyone's opinion on this, because so many different things could have happened. And there was 5 minutes left in the football game, and I 100% believe the Packers are still going to win that game, even if that touchdown stood. So, but people are also glossing over the fact that the Jets had a 21-3 lead in this football game, and they just let the Packers right back into it, and all the way as well. So, although it was kind of an unlucky, for the Jets, I mean, you can't blame that on why they lost the game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, and I think another big thing to come out of this game is that the Jets secondary got absolutely lit up by Aaron Rodgers.
Embarrassed.
365 yards, I believe it was. 346, excuse me. 3 touchdowns. And Jordy Nelson, 209 yards receiving. That's a career high for him. So the Jets secondary was a worry for them heading into the season, and this game kind of tore off the Band-Aid and let everyone see how wounded it really, really is. So you got to think that teams are going to look to exploit that. The Green Bay Packers may have created some tape for other teams to study to exploit the Jets moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, there are positives to take out of it. Like, I mean,
for sure.
I didn't think the Jets would kind of give it to the Packers. I mean, I did say it was going to be a blowout. I didn't think it was going to be that close, though, to be fair. But, yeah, I mean, there's obviously positives you can take out, but, you know, it's a pass-fail league. And unfortunately, it only matters if you win or you lose in this league. So, unfortunately, it's a really, really good loss, but, you know, there's no such thing as almost in the NFL. So let's see how the Jets respond in Week 3 when they take on the Bears, which I think is going to be an interesting matchup.
It's going to be a good game. And one last point before we move on is that you talk about how the Jets dominated early. Well, in the first quarter, Geno Smith had a 99.7 QBR in the first quarter.
Yeah.
From then on, he had an 11 QBR and completed only 4% of his passes in the last 3 quarters.
Wow.
So Geno Smith fell off. That's why the Jets fell off, and that's why the Packers were able to come from behind and get the win. So that timeout controversy was not the only reason that they lost that game.
No, I mean, definitely not. Definitely not. And anybody who says that that is the sole reason, like, it's really just, it's dumb is what it is. Like, obviously, and more often than not, I'm not gonna say it's all Jet fans, but a lot of Jets fans believe they kind of got screwed. And although unlucky, that definitely was the main reason